Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we re-diving into a story that is shaking the international stage and raising new questions about Russia's ability to defend its own capital. The recent reports of Moscow burning after defenses completely failed have left the world stunned, not just because of the event itself, but also because of what it reveals about the true state of Russia's military power and vulnerabilities. This is one of those turning points that make analysts and observers stop and ask if the image of Russia as an unbreakable fortress has been nothing more than a myth. For months, the Kremlin has projected an image of strength, claiming that its defense systems are impenetrable and its capital is untouchable. Yet the recent events have painted an entirely different picture. Moscow, a city deeply symbolic for Russia's power, faced the kind of threat it had never openly admitted to before. The fact that fires broke out, panic spread among citizens, and defense lines crumbled raises questions not only about the military, but also about Russia's leadership. If Moscow cannot be defended, then what does that say about the rest of the country? The first major point of shock is that this happened despite Russia's claims of having some of the world's most advanced defense systems. For years, systems like the S-400 and other anti-missile networks have been showcased as proof of Russia's technological superiority. But this incident shows that either those systems are overstretched, outdated, or simply unable to stop modern coordinated attacks. The image of Moscow burning does more than just shake confidence within Russia. It sends a global message that what was once seen as secure may no longer be. What's even more important is how the Russian public reacts to this. For many citizens, the war in Ukraine and broader conflicts were always something distant, something that happened on the borders or on the television screen. But when Moscow itself becomes a target, when fires rage in the heart of the capital, it becomes impossible to ignore. This kind of event shatters the illusion of safety that the government has tried so hard to maintain. Suddenly, the war is no longer far away. It is right at home, and that changes the psychology of an entire nation. Internationally, this has sparked serious debates about the effectiveness of Russia's military doctrine. Countries that once feared Moscow's military reach may now be reassessing their strategies, realizing that the Russian defense systems are not as indestructible as advertised. The failure to stop attacks in Moscow gives Ukraine and its allies confidence that pressure can be increased. It also suggests that Russia may be spread too thin, unable to cover both its front lines and its own homeland at the same time. Another factor is the symbolic blow this represents. Moscow has always been more than just a capital. It is the pride of Russia, the face of the empire, the seat of power. To see it burn, even briefly, is a humiliation that no propaganda can easily erase. It shows weakness at the very heart of the country, and weakness is something the Kremlin has always worked hard to hide. Even if the damage was not catastrophic, the image alone is enough to erode trust and spread doubt about Russia's true capabilities. When we analyze why this happened, several explanations emerge. Some analysts suggest that Russian air defense has been overused, constantly on alert and deployed across too many areas, which weakens its effectiveness. Others point out that modern drone warfare and long-range strikes are evolving faster than Russia's ability to counter them. Technology that is cheap and mobile can often outmaneuver the most expensive and heavily advertised defense systems. This asymmetry gives smaller forces an advantage, and it highlights just how vulnerable even superpowers can be in today's conflicts. There is also the political dimension. Every time such an event occurs, it becomes harder for the Russian government to maintain its narrative of control. The leadership is caught between admitting weaknesses, which would damage its image, and denying the obvious, which erodes trust when citizens can see the fires with their own eyes. This creates cracks in the Kremlin's propaganda machine. Even loyal supporters begin to question how such things are possible if the country is as powerful as it claims. The global reaction has been just as telling. While Russia struggles to contain the story, International media and analysts have used it as proof of the shifting balance in the war. Ukraine's strategy of hitting symbolic and strategic targets deep inside Russia has changed the game. It shows that no matter how large a country may be, it is not immune to vulnerabilities. For allies of Ukraine, this serves as encouragement to keep supplying technology and support, knowing that the pressure is working. From a military perspective, the failure of Moscow's defenses reveals how wars today are not fought solely on the battlefield. Cyber tactics, drone strikes, long-range precision attacks, all of these create situations where even the strongest capitals can be exposed. For Russia, this event is a wake-up call that the old models of defense may not protect against modern threats. It also forces the Kremlin to make tough choices: protect the capital at all costs, or continue focusing resources on foreign wars. The social consequences inside Russia are just as significant. People who once believed in the state's promises of safety may now be questioning whether the government can truly protect them. Fear can spread quickly in such circumstances, and when fear takes hold, it often leads to dissent, protest, or at the very least, growing silence in support of the government. The Kremlin thrives on control, but control becomes much harder when its citizens feel unsafe in their own homes. Looking ahead, the situation in Moscow will likely push Russia to rethink its strategies. We might see heavier militarization of the capital, more restrictions on citizens, and tighter control of information. However, none of this solves the underlying issue. The defenses are failing, and the enemy has found ways to strike at the heart of Russia. This leaves the leadership trapped in a cycle of reaction, always one step behind, while opponents grow bolder. What we are witnessing is not just a one-time event, but part of a bigger trend. Every attack that succeeds inside Russia chips away at the myth of invulnerability. It encourages Russia's rivals and weakens its alliances. It also creates uncertainty within its own military ranks, where officers and soldiers begin to doubt the very systems they are told to rely on. This kind of psychological erosion is as dangerous as any physical strike, and it spreads silently through every level of the state. The burning of Moscow after defenses failed will be remembered as more than just a fire. It will be remembered as a symbol of a crumbling shield, of a leadership losing its grip, and of a war that has reached deep into the core of Russia itself. It tells the world that even the mightiest capitals are not safe when strategy, technology, and resilience are lacking. And it serves as a warning that in modern warfare, no city, no matter how powerful, can afford to believe in its own invincibility. This story is still developing, and more details will emerge with time. But one thing is already clear. Moscow burning is not just a local event. It is a global signal that the balance of power is shifting, and the consequences will be felt far beyond Russia's borders. The question now is how Russia responds, and whether it can adapt to a new kind of war that has already reached its doorstep. And with that, we conclude today's deep look into the shocking events that unfolded in Moscow. If you found this analysis helpful and want to stay updated on the rapidly changing situation, make sure to subscribe and join us again for the next breakdown of global events shaping our world.